Ga Kith Tin Alana Peterson is Tlingit from Diga Na Hit, Lukna Hadi, and grew up and lives in Sitka, Alaska. Alana currently serves as the executive director of Spruce Root, a Native community development financial institution that assists Southeast Alaska residents and businesses through loan capital and support services. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from Charleston Southern University in South Carolina with a minor in Spanish and a master's degree in business administration from Northern Arizona University. Alana serves on the UAS Business Advisory Council, is a board trustee for Outer Coast, and serves on the boards for Sitka Sound Science Center and Sitka Chamber of Commerce. Please join me in welcoming our keynote, Alana Peterson.
Yake Tutat. Good morning. Sounds good. Gaketinu Hut Duasauk, Yeh Ayahut, Lutna Harina Hutsati, Mushki Tanyari Ayahut. My Tlingit name is Gaketin. My English name is Elena Peterson. As mentioned, I was born and raised in Shitkaquan, or in Sitka, and I currently reside there with my 3 children and my husband. And my parents are still there, and 4 of my 7 siblings live there as well with their families. So I really love Shitka, but I also find that Juneau or Occoquan is also a second home, as my father grew up here, and so I spent a lot of time here as a child and come here a lot for work because Spruce Root is housed, or our main location, our office is here in Juneau. So I get to come over a lot for work. As you heard in my background, I grew up in Sitka. I have always been passionate about what one might call entrepreneurship, but what I think of as problem solving or figuring out how to make a buck, figuring out how to create something, make value, and then see someone else see the value in that thing and want to pay money for it. And I just loved that. I loved the idea of that as a child, and I always was interested in sort of the science behind it. And so that's what led me to my degree, seeking a business background. And it was in school that I realized, there's this incongruity happening inside of me where I love the idea of business. I love things that have to do with entrepreneurship. I love problem solving, but my values as an Indigenous person don't really align with that reality and what business has done to our world. What the capitalist model is creating isn't connecting. And so that was really rough for me as a young adult, trying to figure out how do I rationalize these two things within me. And so today, I want to talk to you about the value of collaboration and how some stories of why collaboration is what leads to change and what's helped me understand along the way why these two things can exist at the same time, why we can have our passion and be able to bring value into the world and do it in a way that's good for our community, ourselves, and our natural environment. I want to start by apologizing if anything I say offends anyone. It is not my intention. I do speak with a lot of passion and conviction, and people always tell me when I'm wrong, and so I appreciate that as well. All right, next slide. I will start off by sharing a story. The story is called Asquan, which translates to tree people. And it was told by the late Clarence Jackson of the Taquedi, which is Eagle Killer Whale Clan in Cake, in 2012, at a celebration it was Cake 100 years later, and this marked a day when it was decided to set aside old traditions and customs and practices of old to pursue the new ways that were flooding the land with the new coming and Western ways of living. And then King Gesti interpreted the story that I'll share now. And they say that this is one of the most powerful stories about working together, or wuch'in. So starts as long, long ago, before the Great Flood, this story took place. It's said that the tree people were plenty on the side of this one mountain, not too far from Cake. One winter it snowed, and it snowed, and it snowed, and then in the spring there was rain, and the wind, and it was just miserable. The weather that the tree people had to endure was the worst it had been. And then one day there was this great avalanche that started tearing down all the trees in its path. The powerful wind was going before it, as loud as the thunder, down the mountainside. And it is said that all of the trees, every single one, was ripped down, and all the tree people perished, except for one, way up at the top. And one day, the tree started to call out to see if there were any trees that had survived the great snowslide, and he yelled out, "Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?" He did this every day for a long, long time, until one day he heard this small, still voice. It said, "I can hear you." The tree at the top called out, "Do you know what happened to us?" The little tree yelled back, "No, what happened?" And the tree at the top said, "A great snowslide wiped almost all of us out." The tree at the top then asked the little tree, "Do you know why this happened?" "No," said the little tree. "It's because we thought we could stand all by ourselves. We thought we did not need each other's help and that we could stand tall and alone, all by ourselves. So when the snowslide came, it killed almost all of us off this mountain. But we need to stand together. We need to support each other with our roots. And that's how we hold each other up. This is the way we will survive, by helping one another." And this was the basis for what founded Spruce Root. And when we were told this story, we knew this is why our organization exists. And so we do our best at Spruce Root to hold this truth in the work we do every day around the region. Spruce Root is a nonprofit community development financial institution, or also known as a CDFI. And as a nonprofit, our mission is to be a driver of a regenerative economy across Southeast Alaska so that all of our communities here can forge futures that are founded in this uniquely indigenous place. We do that through 3 main programs. The first one is our lending program. And this is what it sounds like. We provide access to capital for entrepreneurs across Southeast Alaska. And we specifically try to drive capital into the smaller communities, the rural communities, which we consider outside of Sitka, Juneau, and Ketchikan. Our second program is called Path to Prosperity. And this is a suite of services that we deliver, including training for entrepreneurs, for organizations, for individuals in the workforce, and just individuals in our region. We do business trainings, financial wellness, workforce development. We provide facilitation skills for strategic planning, and many other things that I can't really mention today. And then the third program is called the Sustainable Southeast Partnership, and this is the program I'll spend most of my time talking about today. And I'll also be sharing mostly about how we do our work more than what we do. But if you want to find out more about what we do have a table at the back. Shailene is back there, and I would highly recommend going to meet her and learning more about what it is that we do at Spruce Root. Here are the beautiful people I get to work with every day. I feel very fortunate to have a team of passionate and intelligent folks who really believe in what we're doing, and despite how difficult it can be, show up every day with these beautiful faces and hold each other up. So Alaska is facing complex challenges. We're going to start with the problem. The system is broken and it's failing us. And the current state of things just aren't working. You know, we have a workforce development issue. We have issues in our schools. We see failing industries that are failing our communities. We are not food secure. We have the social complexities with the quickly changing technology. We have climate change. The way I think about it is that some people call this the house of finance, or capitalism is really failing us. And in these problems, we're looking for ways to find climate justice, create cultural shifts. We talk a lot about restorative economics or restorative capital. We're figuring out how can we center the sacred? How do we get the people who control the things to stop doing the bad things and do the nice things? So we'll have to steward and govern our land and water and capital as a community, and we must work together to make this shift, as some people said up on the stage earlier this morning. But in order to do this and build this new strategy, it's done one piece at a time, which is why we created in Southeast Alaska the Sustainable Southeast Partnership over a decade ago. I joined the partnership, I'm gonna call it SSP from here on out. I joined it in 2014, and I've been so lucky in this past decade to witness and be part of a network as it's growing from a small cluster of very unsure and very unlikely participants to what it is today. When we started the SSP, it seemed like this crazy idea. And I mean, the idea was noble. It was easy to support in theory. Let's work together. Let's change the way we work. But let's get real. The challenges were so great. We had huge amounts of outmigration from our small communities. Economies at the time were really shifting. And it seemed like with the politics and what was going on in the world, the challenges were impossible to overcome. So could we really work together in collaboration when we barely are willing to show up in the room with one another sometimes? So the SSP is what's called a Collective Impact Network, which I'll explain a little more later, but I want to go back to the beginning. Where? Oh, the beginning. I was just seeing if you're paying attention. So my friends at Rio's group say it really well, so I'm taking this from them. But they say that in the beginning, with a starting place for collaboration and the capacity to collaborate, it really requires a diverse coalition of actors that realize that their situation is unacceptable or unsustainable, and that it cannot be transformed unilaterally, directly, or even immediately. And that's where we were. And so in our experience, what comprises collaborative capacity and the need for that and the way we get there isn't obvious. And I think that's really what makes effective collaboration challenging. And to begin, for people to reach this starting point, they have to go through a process to decide to collaborate. And so that's how this all started. It was a decision process to even decide to collaborate in the first place, that it would be worth our time and energy. And this is the old SSP logo when I started in 2014. So it's just to show you we have come very far. We made this on PowerPoint, I believe. So you decide, okay, collaboration is an option. And when you're looking at the question, can we change this situation? You might say yes or no. Oh, there's a weirdness in the slide. That's okay. So if you say no, we can't change the situation, then you ask, can we bear the situation as it is? If yes, we adapt. That's a unilateral movement. We adapt. If no, we exit. We leave. We are done. That's a unilateral move as well. But let's assume we say yes, we can change the situation. So when we ask ourselves, can we affect this change unilaterally? If yes, we do it through force. That's a unilateral movement together. If no, we collaborate. That's a multilateral movement. And we ask, can we control the change or the collaboration? If yes, then we're gonna collaborate in a conventional way. But if no, then we're going to follow what's called stretch collaboration. And as this diagram shows, there's several paths to consider. And so when we choose to collaborate, we need to know clearly that's what we're choosing to do, and then what type of collaboration we're even choosing. And so stretch collaboration is not a term that I knew when we first were getting started. It's something I've since learned. But it's a useful term, and I'll show some more of a framework about it as we move forward. So what we did find in the beginning, where we started, where the SSP started, was what's called a framework called the Collective Impact Network. And the term collective impact had recently been coined in a term, or as a term that was written in a paper that was published in 2011 in the Stanford Social Innovation Review. And so it was new back then. It was like kind of an exciting new term, and it was how you could talk about collaborating. There was some creative ideation going on around what this model meant. And so we picked that up and we said, that's what we're gonna do. So what is a collective impact network? Well, it's a collaborative and coordinated approach to addressing the complex social and environmental challenges that brings together diverse stakeholders towards a common goal. And you need these 5 things to be a collective impact network. You need a common agenda. You need a shared system of measurement. You need mutually reinforcing activities, which means I have strengths and weaknesses, you have strengths and weaknesses, I have an agenda, you have an agenda, but we come together and find ways to mutually reinforce what each other's trying to do. We have continuous communication. This is huge. And we have a backbone organization. And for the SSP, that's what Spruce Root is. So that makes sense. That's what we're here to do. But I want to also acknowledge that the concept of collective impact is not new, that in fact, our indigenous communities have been harnessing the power of collective impact since time immemorial. But I do think that the framework that we've gained and the language that we can use to understand how we work is useful when we talk about the term collective impact. And so really quickly, I want to talk a bit more about who the SSP is and how we are set up. So we have this formal aspect to the network that's called catalysts. We have community catalysts, and those folks are housed and living in, or housed at an organization within a community in the region. And so they are, they're employed by that organization. And they are working on community-identified priority projects. And so for each catalyst, that looks very different and unique. And those catalysts are supported by the network of regional catalysts. And our regional catalysts are experts in their field, or they bring a lot of knowledge and passion around the topic for which they focus. So we have many regional catalysts. Some are listed here. We have a food security catalyst, energy independence catalyst, storytelling, regenerative tourism, economic development, natural resources. We have an indigenous guardianship catalyst, and then they're supported through this governance model. But this doesn't really show you the actual network. This diagram doesn't quite do it justice. You know, who the people are, and who is the SSP is so much more than our catalysts. It's all the people that are involved in the various projects across the region. I want to see a raise of hands if anyone's heard of the SSP. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm not surprised because you are the SSP. You know, the reality is the SSP is connected to so many more people now than I think we ever thought was possible. So many people are involved in the work that's happening on the ground within the communities, and a lot of it wouldn't be possible if it weren't for this decade of work of these diverse people that set the stage for the folks on the ground to catalyze, to do the important work that they're doing. So it's more than a cluster of individuals and host organizations, even though that's what we talk about a lot when you hear the SSP. You hear about who are the partners, who are the organizations. And that's abundantly clear by all the people that just raised their hands in this room. So we're much bigger than a formal collaboration of catalysts, and we do have structure. I want you to think for a moment about your network. So think about the people who are in your immediate vicinity, in your immediate center in your life. This might be your family, could be your colleagues at work, might be your best friends. Who are those people that are just so close in your world? This is your center. And if you think about going out one level from that, you have other people that you talk to a lot, that you see a lot, that you might work with a lot. They're maybe not considered your center for whatever reason, but they're there. You connect with them, you interact with them. You go out another layer from there. Maybe those people are supported by their network of people who they bring into your world from time to time. And you can go another layer out from there. You get, sometimes you need access to a resource or to a thing. So you tap into your network to see if it's out there, and your network responds with solutions and ideas, maybe the resource itself. And this is how the SSP works. It is a tight knot of people who continuously show up for one another and are very close and working close together. This is the catalyst and a lot of the partners that come to every single annual retreat that we have. And from there, it grows out and rings. And it's this beautiful network of people, and we have a governance structure, but this is how we're modeling our collective impact network and how the SSP is working. And it wouldn't be fair of me to talk about it without bragging a bit. As I was looking at these numbers, I was just like shocked to see, and you'll see in a moment why, but to be in a place where we have 19 paid catalysts across the region that are connecting over 15 communities to our work, with 45 partner organizations that are collaborating together to support those catalysts and those communities. Together working on over 78 known projects in the region and catalyzing over 160 jobs. I think these are 2023 numbers, but I remember some of our earliest goals in the SSP was, can we support 5 jobs? I remember we were like, that feels like a stretch goal. Let's just set that goal. And so to see these numbers is really a testament that, when you dream big, metrics that once seemed impossible are real. All right, so let me go back to this starting point. My personal story about collaboration doesn't start with the SSP. When I was younger, after college, I joined the Peace Corps. And I was about 23 years old, and I went in, thinking I was gonna do all this really good, important work, just like every young Peace Corps person does. And I got to this little community in Peru. It was on the desert, on the coast. And I found quickly that was not how that would work. People were excited for the wrong reasons that I was there. And then the people I was supposed to work with were, really questioning, like, if I could really help or do anything. And there wasn't a lot of excitement for the work I was supposed to do to support the community. And so I had to find my way. And it wasn't easy. It was a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes and mishaps. But one of the projects that I found I learned the most through was working with a group of local artisans and the local municipality. And I saw the opportunity in the community. There was a bunch of artisans doing amazing weaving work. And they would sit outside and just weave all day. And people would come into the town, these tourists would come looking for them, and they were hard to find, and they would say, well, where are these artists? We've heard this is like, there's more weavers here per capita than anywhere else, and then they'd have to go find them, and half the time you couldn't find them, and so it was just this interesting situation that then the municipality really wanted to, sell this idea of more economic activity and growing the economy, and so I just saw the kind of obvious opportunity there, and I went to both parties, and, they both just sort of ignored me. And so I just kept going, and I kept showing up at the municipality, and I would sit in that municipality outside the mayor's office for sometimes 4 hours, 5 hours straight, just waiting for the meeting that we were supposed to have to start, and he would just make me wait, hoping I would leave. And I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to do, so I would just sit. And I knew I looked stupid, or I felt like I looked dumb, and people would look at me and walk by, and everyone's like, she's still sitting there. And I slowly learned that if I did sit there long enough, he would eventually invite me into his office. So the meeting would happen eventually. And so I persisted, and he would, then say, okay, what can I do for you? What do you want? And I just kind of kept trying to be consistent with what I said. I want to help you guys, and I think there's an opportunity here. And he would just tell me, like, well, no, we can't work with them. There's all these reasons, right? We can't work with them. We don't work together. That's not going to work. So then I would go to the artisans, and they were a little more welcoming because we would usually sit down and eat or just hang out, and they weren't behind this office door, so I could hang out with them. But they, would say, no, they're corrupt. We don't work with the municipality. They're corrupt. They steal money. It's not going to work. And so I realized, I just have to keep kind of showing up, because what happened was I was helping the entrepreneurs grow their businesses and teaching them some different concepts and ideas of how to run their business. They were really just artisans. They weren't running a business. And so they wanted that support. So I was doing that for them. And then the municipality was excited because I would help them with their health fairs, and I would just do things for them. And so then both parties kind of started to be like, okay, she as a set of hands, and she'll just show up and do stuff no one else wants to do. So cool, we'll continue to meet with her. And things over the 2 years got better and better in the sense that I was able to work with these two separate groups. And somehow by the end, I was able to convince the municipality to fund the construction of an outdoor artisan market. And then I was able to convince the artisans to show up at the market and sell their things. And it happened it was about 4 weeks was when the final construction was done and the sign was put up. And so when you come to the main plaza in the town, you could see this big artisan market sign that pointed you in the direction. And I was just so excited. It was like the best thing I could have asked for by the end of that 2 years of hard work. And I was really happy. And I came back a couple years later because my husband's Peruvian, so we go back to visit. And the sign is trashed, and no one's at the market. And, I realized, well, maybe it didn't work out in the end, but also maybe that's how collaboration works. Maybe that's a part of it. It's that process of trying something, working really hard, learning through it, and then trying better next time. So from there, I came back home. I started working for the tribe, and I was like, it's gonna be awesome because there's resources here. People have a lot more resources here than they did in Peru. And I was just like, people have shoes and shelter, and just basic needs are met. And so excited because I thought this is gonna be cool. I can apply all these things I've learned. And I was quickly humbled. Because in fact, we also don't like to work together. And I was told a lot of times in the role I was in, you can't really work with them. We have this baggage. Or, oh, that idea is not gonna work. We've tried it before. Or, oh no, they don't like you to come, you gotta be invited. There was all these things and reasons why we couldn't just do work. We couldn't just work together. And so I was reminded at that time that, people are saying no, and I just need to be patient and humble myself a bit. I went back to school, and I got my master's degree. And then I came back, I really felt like I needed a degree to prove to people that I was smart. And then I came back and got a job with Sealaska. And I was very excited because Sealaska at the time was shifting as an ANCSA Corp. They were shifting their attention towards the region and a different way of doing business. And it felt like it was all of these things inside of me were aligning. And so I was met again with a lot of, no, we don't work with them. Don't talk to those folks. Don't, be careful. They've wronged us in the past. Or, you can't just talk to whoever. You can't just do work with people. You can't just collaborate. And so when no wasn't working, I had to look at, what would it look like if we chose yes? And that's about the time that the SSP entered into my sphere. And a friend that I recently met in Canada, Karen Joseph, she says it best. She says, we need to stop trying to measure outcomes. We need to measure the process. And I think it's so true. And so then it makes me wonder, what would life look like if we changed the culture that we operate in? It's very difficult to be operating in a world without impacting and infecting one another with our trauma. And I feel like that's a lot of what happens in the most subtle ways, in ways which we never intend. And so to walk the line of speaking your truth while attempting to not cause additional harm to others, I think is possibly the finest line to walk. And so we started to walk that line together as a network, and we did. We harmed one another. We offended each other. We stepped on one another in ways we didn't really intend. But with this being our core place where we were starting, it kept us together because we knew there wasn't another way. And I'll also offer that the way forward wasn't obvious at the time. I get asked a lot now to come and share with people about the SSP and what are we doing and how do we do it so that we can help this region or this group of people to replicate something like that. Let's learn from you, which I love doing. It's like one of the best parts of my job. I love sharing the story. I love sharing about what we've learned. But what I really realize is that I can't really tell you what we're doing. I can't share about the SSP and know that you can actually do anything with that information if I don't start at the beginning, because the reality is it took us a decade of time and energy and relationship building to get to where we are, and we are nowhere near the end. So the best thing I can do is tell you about where we started and how we built this from the beginning, so you can, do the work. You can start where you're at. You can't skip ahead. This won't happen overnight. You have to start with where you are. And I will say that over the years, we've learned some frameworks and terminology, so I'm going to give you a little bit of that to help frame how we do this work. If you remember earlier, I mentioned the idea about stretch collaboration. So this is a framework I've since learned, also from our friends at Rios. But when we were getting started, we didn't know this. We didn't really understand what we were dealing with, and we were just sort of moving forward blindly. But I've since found this framework to be very useful. So these are 3 different types of complexity. We have dynamic complexity, where when a challenge is simple, you'll know because the cause and effect are very close together. You can see the cause and you can see the effect. But in dynamic complexity, if it's a complex challenge, the cause and the effect are very far apart. In generative complexity, the future is familiar and predictable when the challenge is simple, and the future is unfamiliar and unpredictable when it's complex. And in social complexity, in a simple challenge, actors have similar perspectives and interests. We're aligned. We believe the same thing. But in a complex challenge, the actors have different perspectives and different interests. Our agendas are not the same. And we found that we were in complex challenges, and we were trying to do something and change the way we work together, which was not easy and not clear. So we needed to figure out how to lead in this way. To lead into this type of what we call systems change, or to lead through complex challenges, you have to have a combination of these 3 things. You have to know how to act from the whole and integrate across these silos, which can be so hard to do when the job you have and the work you do is so important to you, and you're so busy to look up and take the time to give your attention to something that maybe isn't in your direct immediate priority. That takes a lot of inner strength. But that is how we break those silos and try to work more as a whole. And so you need someone to lead that type of connection. You also need someone to lead the creative process on how to innovate and how to bring something new into the world. And then you need you need to lead in a way that supports the diverse actors that will talk so that they can be listened to, talking and listening, the possibly hardest thing for us to all do, and then collaborate. And this is an experiment, it can create more of an experimental sort of process together. And so at the center of those 3 ways of leading is how you lead systems change. So change through that complexity. And when I think a lot about the leadership we need, some key things that have worked for us is investing in our ability to facilitate a meaningful convening, a meaningful meeting, to also have leadership that is able to connect as relatives and relate and relationally. So leadership, we often, and I don't know what you think of when you think of leadership, but the kind of leadership this takes is someone who can lead with love, someone who can lead on the relationship and trust building, and that takes courage because that's a vulnerable place. And that's not often what we think about sometimes when we think of leadership, but that's the type of leadership that will facilitate change. And I will just point out, because I've made it I get on stages and I have to say this, leadership in times of chaos, Karen Joseph said this too. She said, it's in a time of, when there's times of chaos, it's a time of relationship. And who holds relationships, our communities, who has played that role, and it's often women. So I'm here to say we need more female leadership. Thank you. We do lead with love, and we are more relational, and that type of leadership is definitely needed in our world today. So within that framework, I'll just share with you that in this type of collaboration, we may not agree on the common purpose, the problem, the solution, the plan, or who will do what, and that is definitely where we were at the beginning. So for everything that we're used to doing and the way we do it, we have to do something that kind of feels like the opposite in order to do this stretch collaboration. But by doing so, we actually create those conditions where we can move ahead with those diverse stakeholders. So it's being in the discomfort that we can really create that collaborate network. So another visual for you, if you're a visual person, if we think of types of collaboration, and you look at the variables of control and agreement within a challenge, within the challenge, if there's low control and low to moderate agreement, anywhere down there is where you find stretch collaboration. But when control is high and maybe agreement is low, that's often where we get compliance. Or if agreement is high and control is high, this is where we can find cooperation. So I just want to offer this as another way to think about it. And we are focusing on stretch collaboration. Uh-oh. There's another slide that's missing. That's okay. So one other thing I want to offer in stretch collaboration is there's three sort of conventional ways that we have to shift in how we engage. The first is how we relate with our collaborators. And so in stretch collaboration, you have to embrace conflict and connection. I'm going to say that again. You have to embrace conflict and connection. Whereas in a conventional collaboration, you would focus on the good and the harmony of the team. Like, we all agree, we all are on the same page. It's easier. In stretch collaboration, how we advance our work is through experimentation. We experiment forward. We try things multiple emergent ways. There's many possibilities, and you have to be willing to explore that and not say there's one way and it has to be this way. You have to be willing to experiment forward together. Whereas in conventional collaboration, you can agree on the problem and the solution. Here's the problem, and this is the solution, and we agree. The third approach is on how we participate in the situation. And so in stretch collaboration, you have to see yourself in the game. Another way to think about that is you have to see yourself as part of the problem. And until we do that, until we're each willing to see the role we play within the problem, we can't co-create together. We can't have this multiple co-creation. And in conventional collaboration, we would participate by just focusing on changing what others are doing. So in stretch collaboration, it's looking at what's the role I play and what do I need to address and change to be able to collaborate. So increasingly in all spheres, whether it's home or work or in a local or national or global issue, if we want to get things done, we need to collaborate, not only with our colleagues and friends, but also with our opponents or our enemies. And then to be able to collaborate in contexts that are complex or with conflict where we have no control, we need to stretch beyond what is habitual and what is comfortable. And this is why it took us a decade. So we started with where we were, as I mentioned before, and we just said, okay, what can we agree on how we're going to show up together? And we would ask this question every time we got together, and we would revisit the answer and edit and edit and edit until we came up with these agreements for how we'll meet together. We really have talked a lot about these agreements. Like, I have been in hours and hours of conversation on these 10 agreements and what they really mean, how we really embody them. And what's really amazing to see is that in the early days, we would spend a lot of time talking about the agreements, and there was always someone or a couple people that would say, we need to change something. Something's missing. We need to add something. I don't like the way that sounds. We need to reword it. And so we'd spend a lot of time making sure it felt right to everyone, because everyone needed to be able to say, yes, I agree, and I commit to this. And if you weren't willing to say that, you can't be in the partnership. You can't collaborate. And so we had to all agree. And to agree meant we had to really believe what the words said. Now, when we get together and we look at these every year and we say, does everyone feel good about this? Do we need to change or edit? We see very little of that. And that's a sign to me that we are connected in a new way. We didn't trust each other before. And these agreements were a tool for us to build that trust. Another question is to look at articulating what is the problem in the current situation. And so this helped us to find our areas of agreement. We believed that we could have a greater impact by working together on the complex challenges that were connected to community sustainability and environmental sustainability. We knew that we could actually address those if we worked together rather than on our own. Like, if we continued to work on our own in our own silos, we were never going to get there. And so we agreed that we did have to change the way we were working together, and that was a part of the problem. And that's where we found that we all could agree. And then we looked at what's going on, and we took away the judgment or the emotion for a moment to just look at the events that were occurring. And so we spent a lot of those early years exploring the different inequalities that maybe existed across the region, or from community to community, or organization to organization, between individuals. And we saw how it was clear that our community health issues could not be solved if we didn't figure out how to create more hope and commitment within our communities to the new opportunities and change for a better way. So the problems that we saw then still exist today, but we were able to focus our attention on 4 core areas. And we picked, in those early days, the 4 areas we focused on as a collective was food security, natural resource management, energy independence, and economic development. And so that's what we decided is what we wanted to address first. So then where did we go from there? So we had our agreements. We were like, all right, we're going to commit to this way of working. Still don't trust you, but I'm here. And so we did. We moved at the speed of trust. It was a lot of years of that, and we still work on that. I think we're never done with that. New people come in, new situations arise, new challenges come up, so we continue to have to commit to this. It's not something we did once and we're done. But I can speak for myself and say that I personally had to learn so much from the people that were around me, and I continue to do that. And I had to unlearn so that I could understand the realities that those folks were facing, so that I could understand why what I think is so obvious, so apparent, isn't maybe to someone else, and maybe there's something I'm missing. I learned that it's okay to be frustrated and still treat people well. I also learned that it's okay to not be okay, and that I can even still show up for the people who are counting on me when I'm not okay. Because, in fact, when we have trust with one another, they will support me when I need it. And then I also learned a lot about the privilege I had. So prior to this work, I fed myself a story of the problems I had in life, the life I was born into, and all the challenges I was faced with. And I was a victim to all those problems. And it helped me because it supported the idea that the problems were outside of me. And I realized that instead of looking outside myself to blame others or to blame the situation I was in, that the most impactful thing I could do for my community and for future generations was to heal myself. And so by doing that, it would have the greatest impact and greatest multiplier effect than anything else I could ever do in my work. And I continue to work on this. And I've seen others in the network on their own healing journey, and together witnessing one another is such a powerful thing. So we had to keep showing up for one another. You know, it was one call at a time, one meeting at a time, one difficult situation at a time. And some of the key success factors for why we're still operating is that we included storytelling. We made sure we were focusing a lot of our effort on telling the stories of the people in this place, of the work that we do. We invested in our collective capacity building. We learned together. We knew we needed new skills that we didn't have. And so, you know, we've invested in our ability to hold productive meetings, to facilitate a group through a process, to build a strong project plan. I could go on and on. We learned how to work, and we continue to learn how to work in smaller communities and the unique nature of each community within the people and that place. And so all of this work is healing work. We talk a lot about, well, we gotta heal. We can't do this big thing until we figure out how to heal ourselves. And what I keep realizing over and over again is that learning to work together as a community and as a collective system is the healing work. It's how we heal and how we actually build that better system for all of us. So yeah, we focused a lot on our collective healing, and it's a lifelong practice with no end destination. But to be part of this network that supports one another on that journey is where we're coming together for one another, and it's really been a beautiful thing. And we continue to do that. And Joe's gonna come up next, and he always makes fun of us because he says, you guys get together and just retreat all day. And I was like, we need to come up with a new word than retreat, because it does sound like we're just like wearing facial masks and hanging out. But we are working. But really what we're doing is we're building trust. So in this space of trust, as I said before, is where the creativity can come in. And so we've dreamed big together, and dreaming is vulnerable. And I've been at many tables like this, at events with the SSP, where we are doing some activity and we say, okay, everyone come up with an idea for XYZ, right? Here's your question, answer it, and you all get your chance to write something down. And I think every one of us always goes, ooh, no, I don't want to say that out loud. That's a crazy idea. But sometimes we say the crazy idea. And the reason we sometimes say it is because of that established trust. Maybe I'm sitting at the table and I look around, I'm like, I'm going to say this to these guys and see what they think, you know? And so it's in those crazy ideas that we've been able to connect to the land and the waters in this profound way. You know, this place is special. We have beautiful lands, economies, clean air that we breathe, and it energizes our communities, and it energizes the work that we do. Because the people here, as you all know, are embedded in our landscape. And our indigenous lineage is in this place. It's everywhere. And so it wasn't hard for us to actually start to dream big and work together once we figured out how we could trust one another. And so in a more recent project, we've seen that the conflict within the Tongass, it exists, it's been pretty strong in my lifetime. And so conflicting power over resources is an issue that's faced Southeast Alaska. So some groups want to cut down the forest, some groups want to lock it up. And so this dichotomy that's lacking nuance has been building up, that foundation of colonization, and further compounds the conflicts and further leaves the people that are closest to the lands and the waters behind. And so we said, enough's enough. We want to see a change. And so we dreamed up this project called the Hoonah Native Forest Partnership. And that project then informed what became the Keequong Community Forest Partnership, which then helped inspire the Kolwak Indigenous Steward Forest Partnership. And these partnerships are about bringing people together and various entities together that are landowners around that community. So it's the Forest Service, local municipalities, the sovereign tribal governments, Alaska Native corporations and conservation groups, local businesses and community members, and they're all together coming to decide how do we manage our lands and waters that surround this community for and with the community. And it's been amazing to see these projects. So they do many different things. They might restore habitat, monitor resources, map landscapes, and many more things. But it's also just really important that the people in that place are the ones most knowledgeable and connected to the land, and that these projects are supporting that model. And so together, these projects have also set the groundwork for the career pathways for local workforce and inspired the development of the Alaska Youth Stewards Program. This is a photograph of Allison Mills, who I haven't met, but I do know her dad. She lives on Prince of Wales, and she's in this picture learning how to measure the height of an ancient cedar tree as a part of a project to inventory and map and understand the distribution of monument trees that would meet the really stringent standards for totem poles and carving canoes. And so her father, Gary, works with Sea Alaska as a tree thinner. And I've been told this, I haven't seen it, but I've been told that on his desk there's this little picture done by a first grade Allison that says, when I grow up, I want to be a tree thinner. So for anyone who gets to know and work with Allison, you'll understand that the passion and interest of working in the forest continues to this day, and AYS helped her lean into that desire for a career exploration. And so this is one example among plenty of young people who are making that transition to being the most knowledgeable knowledge holders of the land and the resources. So together, another project connected to the stewardship of our land is the development of what's called the Blueprint for Southeast. So partners in the network said, this new Biden administration, when they came in, we said, let's come together. I will say in the early years, we would not do policy work together or advocacy really, because that's where we disagreed. So we avoided that, not in a way where we couldn't acknowledge that it was there, but we just said, that's an area where there's not agreement, so we're not going to focus our energy on it. Let's focus our energy where we do agree. But we're at a place, when this administration came in, where we were like, well, we could put together a document that states what we want the administration to focus on in the Tongass. And what's fascinating about this document is that probably all the people and the leaders that signed on to it don't maybe agree on everything that's in the document, but they do see themselves in it, and they saw themselves in it enough in a way that they were willing to sign on. So we developed this and then shared it with the USDA when the Biden administration came in, and it inspired, it was a framework to help inspire what became the Southeast Alaska Sustainability Strategy, where USDA committed $25 million to invest in community-driven priorities. And so instead of saying, here's a grant program, you can apply to it, and here's all the requirements and what we want you to use the money for, they said, here's $25 million, what would you use it for? And that was such a shift. And then they said, we're gonna give that $25 million, well, roughly about 25, but they gave a large amount of it to Central Council, Spruce Root, and Southeast Conference, 3 large regional organizations. They said the 3 of you are the collaborators. You're gonna deploy the money to the communities, and you're gonna manage those funds, and you're gonna decide how the reporting works. You're gonna decide what those requirements are for them to get that funding, and then you're gonna work with us in collaboration. So it was 4 partners, USDA and the 3 that I mentioned, and so that was a very different way to be working with the federal government, to be working with the Forest Service, or with the USDA specifically. And it's been such a great model that we have to keep it going. So that's what I'm working on now. And another big dream that came out at one table one time was, well, what if instead of trying to fundraise every year for this work, we got together and said, like, let's just make our own pool of money and fund ourselves. And I remember the first few times that idea kind of came out, I was like, that's funny. It was one of those ideas. I was like, cute, okay, we'll put the sticky up, that's cute. But where would we even begin? I mean, how much money would we need? Like, let's be real, that's probably not gonna happen. But we kept thinking about it and kept putting it out there, and eventually we said, yeah, no, we're gonna do this. We brought a group of us together down in BC and did a Project Accelerator activity, and learned from the folks down in BC who had set up Coast Funds, which is a similar initiative that's self-perpetual funding. And so they invest the money into the stock market and other investments, and then get a return on that investment. And with that interest earned, they use that money to invest and work on the ground in the communities. And the people who decide how that money gets spent are the people that live in that place. And so we were trying to model, and learn from them. So we set up the Seacoast Trust. Our long-term goal is $100 million. That would continue to fund the current, sort of operations of the SSP with the addition of some other communities, and really be regional and like representing all of the region. And so we're currently at 23 million, which is already just insane to think about. So we're able to currently sustain all those projects and the catalyst positions that I mentioned before. We can do that with 23 million, but we want to continue to grow it. And so that's a major initiative, and that was once just a silly dream. So as I near the end, I just want to reiterate, my friend Bethany says it well. She says, together we can do more when we share resources, inspiration, best practices, and eliminate overlap and have continuity of funding and continuity of relationship. And someone had described it once that it's kind of like the difference between running a marathon and running a relay race. Together, we're gonna go much further, and we can dream out so much further when we work together. And then the second thing she says is that we can do better work together when we escape our silos, our disciplines, our worldviews, to build common ground together, and to know and work with and learn from all of the people in our network and in our region. And really we can see then the holism of our work, and we can do so much for our communities when we work in this way. And so it's not over. We're still improving, we're still messing up, we're still stumbling forward a bit, but at least I can see the people that are next to me that are doing that alongside me, and we're committed to going together. I can see the impacts of the effort over the past decade, which is why I can promise you that this approach to work is worth it, and I do this for future generations. So I'll remind you of the story I shared at the beginning, the Asquan. Kingeisty said, we're rooted through thousands of years of relationships. We're not here on our own. It took all of the people in our roots to be alive today. And so these words also remind me of why this word, Gunachish, holds so much more meaning than a simple thank you. But it means that this work that I do today and in my future wouldn't even be possible if it weren't for my parents, for their parents, and all those who came before them. And it wouldn't be possible without you, without all of you. And so we work together because we must. Gunachish.